I think the problem with the casting couch is that if you don't do it, you ain't gonna do the role. I think that's really horrible to put on someone.
Clifton Powell's story begins long before audiences came to recognize his commanding presence on screen. Born on March 16, 1956 in Washington, D.C., Powell grew up in a community where resilience was not simply a word, but a way of life. His childhood was shaped by the city's rough edges, its beauty, and its contradictions. While Powell eventually became known for his tough, authoritative roles, especially in films that portrayed the complexities of African American life, his beginnings were much more modest. The young Powell found himself drawn to the arts not because it was a clear path, but because it became an outlet, a way of channeling emotions, and a way of making sense of the world around him. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. In Washington, D.C., the cultural atmosphere of the late 1960s and early 1970s was charged with political and social movements. The civil rights era had left an indelible mark on Black communities, and conversations around justice, equity, and representation were everywhere. Powell's upbringing was steeped in this context. Even if he didn't know it then, the lessons he absorbed about community, strength, and authenticity would later inform the kinds of characters he brought to life on stage and screen. He often recalls his childhood as one of challenges, but also opportunities. Surrounded by family and community members who embodied perseverance, he carried those examples forward into his own pursuit of success. Before Hollywood ever knew his name, Powell found himself exploring the craft of acting in school and community settings. For him, it was not just about pretending to be someone else, but about embodying truths that audiences could feel. He developed a reputation for intensity even in smaller roles, an intensity that was less about volume and more about conviction. He learned early that the camera rewards honesty. The more you connect with what you're portraying, the more you draw others into your world. This lesson became the foundation of his career. The decision to pursue acting professionally wasn't easy, but Powell had an internal drive that pushed him forward, convinced that storytelling was his calling. The 1980s and 1990s brought Powell into the fold of American cinema in ways that would cement his legacy. His early film appearances introduced audiences to a performer who could deliver power, menace, humor, or vulnerability depending on the role. He didn't fit neatly into one box, and that was part of his appeal. One of the hallmarks of Powell's career is his ability to take on supporting roles and make them unforgettable. He had the unique talent of elevating a scene, no matter how brief his screen time might have been. Hollywood is filled with actors who try to dominate the screen, but Powell's gift was that he commanded attention without overshadowing the story. His characters often stayed with viewers long after the credits rolled. His collaborations with visionary directors such as the Hughes brothers and John Singleton introduced him to audiences who were hungry for authentic depictions of Black life. In films like Menace to Society and Dead Presidents, Powell embodied roles that were gritty, complex, and unapologetically real. These films, often centered around the struggles of inner-city life, needed actors who could bring depth to the narrative without caricature. Powell excelled in this space, offering portrayals that were layered with humanity. His characters might have been flawed, even dangerous, but they were never one-dimensional. He knew how to infuse them with lived experience, which resonated deeply with viewers who recognized themselves or people they knew on screen. One of his most acclaimed performances came in Ray 2004, where he played Jeff Brown, the road manager and right-hand man to Ray Charles. The film itself was a masterful exploration of Charles's life and career, and Powell's role was pivotal in grounding the story. As Jeff Brown, he embodied loyalty, pragmatism, and a protective instinct that complemented Jamie Foxx's powerhouse portrayal of Charles. Powell's performance was widely praised for its subtlety and strength. It demonstrated that he could shine not only in raw, street-level dramas, but also in biographical and character-driven narratives. For many, Ray represented a high point in Powell's career, showcasing his versatility to an even broader audience. What makes Powell's story particularly compelling is not just his filmography, but his endurance. Hollywood is a challenging industry, especially for African American actors who have historically faced limited opportunities and typecasting. Powell carved out a career that spans decades, navigating the ebbs and flows of the business while maintaining a steady presence. His work in television further reflects his adaptability. From crime dramas to comedies, Powell appeared in series where he continued to bring nuance and authenticity. These roles allowed him to reach audiences who may not have encountered him on the big screen, but came to appreciate his talent nonetheless. Behind the roles, however, lies the man himself. Powell has often spoken about his passion for giving back, particularly to younger generations who aspire to enter the arts. He understands the difficulties of breaking into the industry without connections or resources, and he frequently mentors aspiring actors. His journey from Washington, D.C. to Hollywood is one of persistence, and he uses that narrative to inspire others. His message is clear. Talent alone is not enough. Resilience, discipline, and self-belief are just as critical. In this sense, Powell's influence extends beyond his performances, reaching into communities where dreams often feel out of reach. At the same time, Powell has not shied away from acknowledging the struggles of his personal life. Like many actors who achieve recognition, he has faced scrutiny and challenges, both public and private. Yet, these experiences have only deepened his resolve. He continues to approach his craft with seriousness, always seeking truth in the characters he plays. To him, acting is not simply about entertainment, but about reflection, holding up a mirror to society and allowing audiences to see both its beauty and its flaws. This philosophy has kept him relevant and respected across generations of viewers. In addition to film and television, Powell has also lent his voice to video games, most notably as the character Ryder in Grand Theft Auto: San Andreas. This role expanded his reach to an entirely different audience, one that may not have been familiar with his film work, but came to know his distinctive voice and presence through gaming. It is a testament to his versatility that he could move fluidly between mediums, always bringing the same level of commitment. For younger fans especially, this role introduced him as a cultural figure who transcended traditional Hollywood boundaries. As his career matured, Powell became increasingly reflective about the kind of legacy he wanted to leave. He recognized that his journey was not just about personal achievement, but about paving the way for others. His story is not only about the roles he played, but also about the doors he helped open. The entertainment industry continues to grapple with questions of representation, and actors like Powell have been instrumental in expanding the possibilities for Black performers. His body of work stands as a testament to the power of persistence and the importance of telling diverse stories. Even now, well into his 60s, Powell remains active and engaged, not content to rest on past successes. He continues to take on roles that challenge him and that resonate with audiences. More importantly, he continues to share his wisdom with younger actors, ensuring that his experiences serve as a guide. His story is one of longevity in an industry where careers often fade quickly. That alone makes him remarkable. But when combined with his undeniable talent and his dedication to authenticity, it makes him unforgettable. Clifton Powell's journey is ultimately about transformation. From a young boy in Washington, D.C., to a veteran actor respected across film, television, and gaming, he has continually reinvented himself while staying true to his core values. His story illustrates the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity and the enduring impact of authenticity. Audiences will remember him not just for the characters he brought to life, but for the way he embodied them, with truth, depth, and humanity. And in doing so, he left a legacy that extends far beyond the screen. Clifton Powell's journey through the entertainment world is as layered and multifaceted as the characters he has portrayed. Having already built a reputation for intensity and commitment, his continued growth as an actor is rooted in his willingness to explore uncharted territory, to step into roles that stretch beyond the expected, and to create narratives that challenge the audience's perspective. To expand on his story, it is necessary to delve into the nuances of his career choices, the sociocultural impact of his work, and the ripple effects his legacy has created for aspiring performers and audiences alike. From the outset, Powell recognized the transformative power of acting. He was never simply looking for fame or recognition. Rather, he was interested in the way storytelling can provoke thought, awaken empathy, and stir dialogue. This recognition became a guiding principle in his career, as he consistently gravitated toward projects that reflected real struggles and complex truths. Whether embodying the menace of a streetwise hustler, the loyalty of a trusted confidant, or the quiet wisdom of a community elder, Powell ensured that his performances carried emotional weight. His career decisions reflect not only a drive to succeed, but also a commitment to a higher purpose, ensuring that Black experiences were not just visible in Hollywood, but meaningful and accurate. The 1990s proved to be an especially pivotal decade for Powell. At a time when mainstream cinema was beginning to reckon more deeply with themes of race, urban struggles, and systemic inequality, he became part of a wave of actors who helped bring these stories into the spotlight. Films like Menace to Society and Dead Presidents were not merely entertainment. They were cultural milestones. For Powell, these films offered the opportunity to step into roles that resonated with real-life experiences many African American families were enduring in urban America. Audiences connected to the authenticity of these portrayals, and Powell became a recognizable figure in this cinematic movement. He understood that his work was more than performance. It was cultural representation at a time when representation was scarce. Beyond the big screen, Powell also found opportunities to showcase his range through television. Television offered a different rhythm, one that demanded actors sustain characters over multiple episodes and story arcs, rather than within the span of a 2-hour film. Powell proved adept at adapting to this rhythm, delivering performances that could sustain nuance and subtlety. His television appearances ranged from dramatic crime series to lighter comedic roles, and in each setting, he left an impression of gravitas. This flexibility highlighted his ability to move seamlessly between mediums, demonstrating that his craft was not bound by format but guided by conviction. A significant but often underexplored aspect of Powell's story is the way he approached character preparation. He is known to immerse himself deeply in the psychology of his roles. For him, an authentic portrayal begins long before cameras roll. He invests time in understanding the emotional core of a character, often drawing parallels between the role and experiences within his own life or community. This approach allows him to ground his performances in truth, giving them the resonance audiences feel so strongly. Actors who worked alongside him have spoken about the intensity he brings to rehearsal, a reflection of his belief that preparation is the key to unlocking authenticity. As he navigated the industry, Powell faced the realities of typecasting, a challenge familiar to many actors of color. Hollywood often placed him in roles that demanded toughness, intimidation, or menace. Yet rather than rejecting these roles, Powell reshaped them. He infused even the most seemingly one-dimensional characters with complexity, refusing to let them become stereotypes. His villains were never cartoonish. They were rooted in lived realities, in pain, ambition, or survival instincts. This subtle defiance allowed Powell to expand the possibilities of what such characters could be, and in doing so, he carved out a distinct place in cinematic history. An important turning point came with his involvement in Ray. While many fans knew him as a force in urban dramas, Ray introduced him to an entirely new audience and showcased his capacity for nuance beyond the archetypes he had been offered. The character of Jeff Brown required Powell to embody not only loyalty, but also pragmatism and resilience. He had to balance strength with sensitivity, and his performance revealed the depth of his range. For Powell, the success of Ray was validation that his versatility had always been there, waiting for a role worthy of it. The film also placed him within the orbit of a project that would go on to win critical acclaim, cementing his credibility as a serious actor. Outside of the screen, Powell's contributions to culture have been equally significant. He has consistently emphasized the importance of mentorship, recognizing that young actors often lack guidance in navigating the competitive and at times unforgiving entertainment industry. Powell speaks candidly about the lessons he learned, both successes and missteps, and shares this wisdom with others. His mentorship style reflects his belief in discipline, self-awareness, and persistence. For him, talent is only the beginning. Sustaining a career requires resilience and strategy. Many aspiring performers have credited him with encouraging them to pursue their dreams with confidence and tenacity. Powell's willingness to engage with the community also extends beyond acting. He has used his platform to participate in conversations about social justice, representation, and equity within the industry. For him, Hollywood is not just an arena for storytelling, but also a battleground for fairness and opportunity. He has spoken about the barriers that actors of color face, and he continues to advocate for broader representation, not just on screen, but behind the camera as well. His voice carries weight because it is backed by decades of experience and by the respect he has earned from his peers. The digital age brought new opportunities for Powell to connect with audiences. His involvement in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas remains a defining moment in his career, particularly among younger fans who may have first encountered his work through video games. As writer, Powell became part of one of the most iconic video game franchises in history. The role showcased his distinct voice and energy, giving his persona a new life in interactive storytelling. For Powell, the role was another example of his ability to adapt to evolving forms of media. It also underscored the fact that his influence extended beyond traditional platforms, reaching into gaming culture and cementing his place in popular culture. As his career progressed, Powell's storytelling extended into entrepreneurship and production. He recognized that true influence in Hollywood often comes not only from acting, but also from shaping projects behind the scenes. By engaging in production, he positioned himself as a creator as well as a performer, opening the door to projects that align more closely with his vision. This move reflected a broader trend among seasoned actors who seek greater agency in the narratives they help bring to life. For Powell, it was also a way to ensure that the next generation of stories would be more diverse, inclusive, and representative. One of the defining features of Powell's career is his longevity. In an industry where many careers burn bright but brief, his sustained presence is remarkable. Longevity, in his case, is not simply about staying relevant, but about evolving. Each era of his career reflects an adaptation to the cultural and industrial landscape of the time. In the 1990s, he embodied the urgency of urban dramas. In the 2000s, he expanded into biopics and television. In the digital age, he found space in video games and new media. This adaptability is a testament to his resilience and to his refusal to be confined by industry limitations. Another important layer of Powell's story is his philosophy on acting. He views the craft as a form of service, a way of giving audiences not only entertainment, but also understanding. He has described acting as a mirror held up to society, reflecting both its triumphs and its flaws. This philosophy drives him to seek authenticity in every role, no matter how small. For Powell, there are no throwaway characters. Every role is an opportunity to tell a truth, to reveal a fragment of the human experience. This dedication elevates his work and distinguishes him from performers who approach acting purely as a profession rather than as a calling. Equally significant is the cultural impact Powell has had as part of the wave of black actors who transformed Hollywood in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Alongside contemporaries who broke barriers, he contributed to a broader shift in representation. His presence in films that explored African American life with honesty and depth gave audiences stories that reflected their realities. These stories were not just entertainment, they were cultural artifacts, documenting the struggles, aspirations, and resilience of black communities. Powell's contribution to this movement ensures that his legacy is not only personal, but also collective, intertwined with the broader history of African American cinema. Powell's influence is also evident in the way audiences perceive him. He is often described as a scene stealer, someone who commands attention even in supporting roles. This reputation speaks to his charisma and craft. It also highlights a unique challenge he has mastered: the ability to enhance a story without overshadowing its central characters. Powell understands that acting is about collaboration, about building a world in which every character plays a vital role. This humility, combined with his intensity, has earned him respect both on and off the set. Despite his success, Powell has not been immune to challenges. Like many public figures, he has navigated controversies and setbacks. Yet his resilience in the face of adversity is part of what makes his story so compelling. Rather than allowing difficulties to derail him, he has used them as opportunities to grow, to reassess, and to refine his approach. This resilience mirrors the characters he has portrayed, many of whom face struggles yet find ways to endure. In this sense, Powell's life and art are intertwined, each informing the other in profound ways. In his later years, Powell has become increasingly reflective about legacy. He understands that his career has created a blueprint for others, and he takes that responsibility seriously. He envisions a Hollywood where diversity is not an exception, but the norm, where stories reflect the full spectrum of human experience. His efforts to mentor, to advocate, and to produce are all extensions of this vision. He wants his impact to outlast his own career, to continue shaping the industry long after he steps away from the spotlight. Clifton Powell's story is ultimately one of endurance, transformation, and contribution. He emerged from Washington, D.C. with dreams shaped by his community, found his voice in Hollywood during pivotal decades of cultural change, and has continued to adapt and evolve across mediums and generations. His journey reveals the power of persistence, the necessity of authenticity, and the enduring influence of storytelling. Powell has not only given audiences memorable performances, but also offered a model of how to navigate an industry with integrity and resilience. Looking ahead, his story remains unfinished. As he continues to act, to mentor, and to create, Powell adds new chapters to an already remarkable legacy. For audiences, his work remains a reminder of the transformative power of performance. For aspiring actors, his journey is a testament to the possibilities that emerge when talent meets resilience. And for the industry, his career is evidence of what can be achieved when barriers are challenged and authenticity is prioritized. Clifton Powell's story, in all its depth and complexity, stands as a vital contribution to the history of American entertainment and to the broader cultural narrative. Clifton Powell's legacy can also be understood through the way his performances reflect the shifting landscapes of American cinema and television. He is not merely an actor who happened to find work during a certain era. He is an artist who has continually aligned himself with stories that reflect the concerns, aspirations, and contradictions of the times. His career, therefore, can be read as a map of how Black representation in entertainment evolved across decades, and how one performer played a role in ensuring that these portrayals carried weight and dignity. When considering the cultural shifts of the 1980s and 1990s, Powell stands out for the ways he engaged with themes of community. Many of his roles highlighted not only individuals, but the ecosystems they belong to, families struggling under economic pressures, young men facing crossroads between survival and destruction, or communities dealing with systemic neglect. This grounding in community made his characters larger than life, even if the role itself was small on paper. He did not isolate a character from their environment. He understood them as products of it. This awareness of context enriched his performances, ensuring they resonated with audiences beyond surface-level storytelling. Another underexplored element of Powell's career is his relationship with directors and producers. While actors often receive the bulk of public attention, much of their work is shaped by collaborations behind the scenes. Powell built a reputation as an actor directors could trust to deliver performances that elevated their projects. The Hughes brothers, for example, relied on him for the intensity and realism that defined their early films. His ability to absorb direction and yet add his own creative flair made him a sought-after collaborator. Filmmakers appreciated that Powell never phoned in a performance. He treated every scene as an opportunity to deepen the story, no matter how minor it appeared on the page. This professional reliability made Powell an anchor for many productions. Film sets are often chaotic environments with countless moving parts, but Powell provided stability. His presence on set, colleagues often noted, brought focus and professionalism. Younger actors benefited from his example, observing how he prepared for roles, interacted with crews, and maintained discipline in high-pressure settings. His influence in this regard may be less visible to audiences, but is deeply felt in the industry. Behind the glamour of Hollywood, Powell's work ethic has become part of his enduring legacy. What also sets Powell apart is his understanding of duality in his characters. He frequently portrayed individuals who embodied both light and darkness, often within the same role. This duality is essential to human storytelling, yet it is often flattened in Hollywood's portrayals of marginalized communities. Powell resisted that flattening. A gangster in one film might show vulnerability in private moments. A hardened enforcer might display loyalty that bordered on tenderness. By weaving these contradictions into his performances, Powell humanized characters that could have easily slipped into stereotype. This ability to convey duality kept audiences invested, because they saw in his characters reflections of real, complicated people. In addition, Powell's voice deserves particular attention. His deep, resonant tone and precise delivery became trademarks of his style. Whether on screen or in a video game like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, his voice carried authority. It could intimidate, comfort, or command, depending on how he deployed it. Voice is often an overlooked aspect of acting, but Powell mastered it as a tool of storytelling. In Ryder, his voice became synonymous with mischief, danger, and charisma, creating one of the most memorable characters in gaming history. This demonstrates his keen awareness of how every aspect of performance, body, face, and voice, contributes to the whole. As Powell aged into more senior roles, he took on characters that exuded wisdom and gravitas. These parts allowed him to showcase another side of his range: the elder statesman, the community leader, the voice of guidance. Audiences who had known him primarily as a tough presence in earlier films now saw him as someone who could embody leadership and calm authority. This natural progression mirrored his real-life journey from young performer to seasoned veteran. It also highlighted his adaptability, as he embraced new types of roles that resonated with audiences across generations. Beyond the screen, Powell has demonstrated an entrepreneurial spirit. Understanding that Hollywood can be unpredictable, he invested in creating opportunities outside of acting. This included ventures in production where he could exert creative control, as well as public speaking, where he shared insights about his career and life. He also embraced opportunities to appear at conventions, panels, and workshops, directly engaging with fans. These interactions further cemented his reputation as approachable and grounded. Audiences often remark that Powell brings the same intensity to personal interactions that he does to his characters, making conversations with him memorable and inspiring. Philanthropy has also played a role in Powell's life. He has been involved in initiatives that focus on education and youth development, particularly in underserved communities. These efforts reflect his belief that success must be shared, and that those who achieve visibility in industries like entertainment have a duty to uplift others. Powell knows the impact that mentorship and guidance can have, especially for young people who may not see clear paths to their dreams. By investing time and resources into these initiatives, he has extended his influence beyond entertainment, shaping lives in tangible ways. His commitment to authenticity is evident not only in his performances, but also in his personal philosophy. Powell has spoken about the importance of staying true to oneself in an industry that often pressures individuals to conform. This authenticity is part of why his characters resonate so strongly. Audiences can sense when an actor is simply playing a part versus when they are embodying it with truth. Powell's insistence on truth has guided his choices and has allowed him to maintain integrity across decades in a competitive field. Another dimension of Powell's legacy lies in the generational bridge he represents. Older audiences know him from the gritty dramas of the 1990s. Middle-aged viewers recognize him from films like Ray, and younger fans discovered him through gaming and television. This cross-generational recognition is rare in Hollywood, where many actors become associated with only one era or genre. Powell's adaptability has ensured that he remains relevant across shifting cultural landscapes, allowing his story to resonate with a diverse audience base. In exploring Powell's life, one must also consider the resilience required to sustain a career in Hollywood. For every role he secured, there were undoubtedly many more that went to others, and for every success, there were setbacks. Yet Powell has consistently emerged stronger. His resilience is not just personal, but professional, embodying the tenacity required of actors who do not always fit the molds Hollywood prefers. By refusing to be defined solely by the industry's limitations, Powell carved out space for himself and others. The broader significance of Powell's story lies in its inspiration. Aspiring actors from similar backgrounds see in him a model of what is possible. His journey from Washington, D.C. to a respected Hollywood career illustrates that persistence, preparation, and authenticity can overcome systemic barriers. For those who dream of entering entertainment, Powell's example shows that it is possible to succeed without compromising one's truth. This inspirational dimension amplifies his legacy beyond his body of work, embedding it in the aspirations of countless individuals. As the industry continues to evolve, Powell's influence remains visible. The push for greater diversity in Hollywood owes much to the groundwork laid by actors like him, who demanded complexity in roles and refused to accept caricature. Contemporary black actors benefit from the expanded possibilities Powell and his peers helped create. While he may not always be cited alongside the most mainstream stars, his contributions form part of the foundation on which progress is built. His story demonstrates that legacy is not always about fame, but about the substance of one's impact. Powell's story also invites reflection on the broader role of supporting actors in Hollywood. Leading roles often garner the most attention, but supporting actors like Powell provide the backbone of cinematic storytelling. They create the texture, the realism, and the emotional resonance that make films memorable. Powell exemplifies the power of the supporting actor, showing that even without top billing, one can shape the cultural imagination. His characters often remain etched in memory precisely because of the depth he brought to them. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Clifton Powell's story and career journey? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.